welcome to Cardinalia. Previously, I said these buildings were way too tall for my liking. However, after a little bit of thought, I've decided that I just kind of want to lean heavily into that for today. Now, we are far behind on city services, so we're going to be spending development points on some, as well as adapting our public transportation networks, and then placing them all in this area here, and then filling it in with as much high and medium density as we can. So you're gonna have to forgive me, I don't have a completely fleshed out plan for today, but I do have a general idea of what I would like to get done. And so I'm gonna go ahead and mark out some of these areas with pathways just to kind of break it up and kind of give a general idea of what I'm gonna do here. So from this this collector here, I would like to curve it around, have it continue down this way, and possibly even down and out here maybe, or have it hook up with another collector that starts down or that ends over here somewhere and curves over and then back up into this one right here, into this arterial over here. And then we can have one collector that comes down from here and then all the way down into that one down there. And then we can have these areas split up into multiple different blocks that have different purposes and things like that. Now, I don't quite know where I want each one to go, but I would like one city service to go right over here with a nice oceanfront view. So we'll have to think about which one do we think would be happiest with that. I want another one right over in here that's kind of hugged up against the highway, so it's probably going to be one that will be able to withstand more noise pollution. And same with over here on this side. I think I want actually to maybe collect or extend it like a partial collector that maybe goes down to roughly about the highway. So that way we could divide this up into 3 separate blocks or something like that. And then over here on this side, the reason why this one's so huge is because I would actually like to have a very large interchange right over here, where this one pretty much comes down and hooks up into this collector right here and into the highway. And I'm debating whether or not I want it to actually go all the way through, or if actually I think it would be a good idea to have it go all the way through and then have it be a 4-way interchange right here. And then we'll go ahead and continue. After the interchange is built, we'll go ahead and continue the highway down to roughly right around over here, and then have it just aimed so that way it will eventually land on this hilltop over there. But I really don't know, and I just kind of want to get the basics of the collectors and road layouts in here before we start getting into everything else. So I will go ahead and time lapse that, and I will be right back. Here we are, the collectors and the highway are completed here, and I kind of wanted to talk about why I chose to go back on what I said about the 4-way might be the best. Really, it came down to 2 things. The one that's the most important was actually the tram line in the middle. I kind of sat back, looked at it for a bit, and thought I didn't really know how to get it to curve and then go up and in between the 2 highways as it continued on. And these highways are a little bit lumpy. I think I'm gonna have to go back and fix these later. Anyways, I wouldn't know how to turn the tram track up to go in between the 2 if I did a 4-way. And I think if I did a 4-way, it would have to be an interchange that would look something similar to this one over here with a roundabout in the middle. I think at least at this scale, this small scale, this interchange really struggles with the waves of the rush hour traffic. And I think if I were to do a larger version of that over here, it could potentially work. But I really didn't like the way how the tram would have to pretty much come to a crawl, take the 90-degree turn, and then be able to speed up. I wanted to keep it really fast and free flowing. And I don't know how I would do that with a 4-way over here. And the second reason is actually because I think it just looks better. Like, I think this just looks a lot better. I mean, granted, if we don't get too close and we don't see all the lumpies and bumpies that I can't really figure out how to get rid of, it looks a lot better from an aerial point of view. And so to compensate for the lack of the fourth of the third of the all the way through or whatever, I decided that I was going to split an interchange on the outside, where you can see right here we have some coming from this direction to get into and out of, that come down to a single point underneath right here that I would like to turn into another road that goes underneath into these two blocks on both sides of the highway. And then in the future, when we actually go on and move into that island, which is probably going to be very far from now, we can then create the other side of that on this side of the highway coming down. And I don't know if I can go underneath into a single point with the tram there, but we could definitely figure out how to create that interchange on this side. Overall, I think it's going to be okay. Don't think the single point four-way interchange over here would be good at all. I think it would bind up and just not be able to process all the high density traffic. So and even with this setup, I think we're going to see some traffic, but I think I'm kind of happy for this, or happy with this. All right, so now it is time for city services. Now I'll try and be really brief with these. I'll just kind of briefly say why I want them and where I want them and why we need them. So I think we'll just start from left to right here. And on this area, I remember I said, I don't know what exactly I want over here that would have this really nice view of the ocean as well as the other islands and things like that. And I think I decided that in this particular area, I want it to have education and medium density. Just a little bit of like the tall medium density, but mostly things like row housing. Now, the reason for that is because if we go into our info views here and we look at education, we'll see that we have 3,400 eligible for elementary school with only a capacity of 1,500. Now, I honestly think this is a bug in the game that should be fixed because, I mean, look how disproportionate that is with high school, college, and university. And I've even seen other people, I think one guy had posted a video talking about how he followed Sims through their lives, and he noticed that people who were going through elementary school took an absurdly long amount of time to graduate compared to all the other forms of education. So I think once that gets resolved, we won't need to have as many elementary schools. But for now, I kind of want to put 2 of them in here. Now, I've already kind of leveled out this pad over here to accommodate all the housing and things like that. But for this particular elementary school, I was thinking we could have maybe 2 of them in here. Something where we can put one of them. I want both of them facing outward, pretty much, I think is what I'm trying to say. One of them looks out in that direction where they can kind of see the mountain in their foreview, and this one can see the other mountain that's way out there. I think that's kind of nice. And as for their upgrades, I know I want both of them to have the playground as well as the extension wings. And then of course, as I go into the next time lapse, I'll fill this area in with roads and whatnot. But those are the only city services that I want in this area. For this area right here, this one's going to have a lot of city services with a lot of reasons for both of them, or not both of them, all 3 of them actually. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw an alleyway in here, maybe right about. But in the last episode, I spent the points on the police headquarters. Now this one is actually absolutely needed. If you look over in the info views on the left there, you can see we have an average crime probability of 83% with a crime success rate of 55.6%. And just, that is absurd. That's like we're living in the city of Gotham right now. And I don't know about you, but we can't have Batman in city skylines. And even in real life, Batman's a terrible idea. But we definitely need the police headquarters, so I'm definitely going to be putting this one down over here. Now, the only upgrade I'm going to give this one is the helipad for now. And the reasoning for that is because we're on an island city with pretty much the only accesses currently being both highways and ferries to get from island to island. And I think it would be a lot better for all of our city services to have helicopter access. So for all the other city services that I'll be adding that can have helicopter access, just know I'm going to be adding them. I won't keep repeating myself. But as for the other ones, I don't think we need anything else just yet. Or any of the other upgrades, I don't think we need them just yet. Now for this next one, we're actually going to have to spend some points. And I'm going to come in here to the fire and rescue. And we're going to be adding in the fire station for 2 development points. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw this one right down next to it and give it the upgrades it needs, which is just the helipad. Now for the last one in this area, we're actually going to have to spend quite a few development points. We're going to have to spend, I think, about 8 total. 1 on large parks, 1 on sports parks, and then 1 on large sports parks. And I actually want to add in the large sports soccer field somewhat right next to this police station over here, or fire station, with only a 1 wide gap in between them. Just that way we could fit some pathways all around them. And I think that's it for this area. I don't think I want to fill in anything else because a lot of their upgrades actually add to the outside of the building. So we don't really have any room to put any sort of density behind these buildings. But I do want to add some right in between them and the highway. Nothing crazy, nothing tall, because one of the things I want to think about is on this highway here, you have your view of the ocean and everything like that, first blocked by all these medium density buildings, and then you have it blocked by the sound barrier here. And I kind of want to leave it open here so that way they can have that kind of night. Well, I guess now it's kind of being blocked by the trees, but I suppose we can pretend that the highway's high enough where they could see the mountain and the water out there. But that's one of the reasons why I don't want to put anything too tall in here. But actually, now that I went down in there, maybe we could, because the trees are already blocking the view. Yeah, you know what, we'll just block the view. We'll put some medium or density stuff in here or something like that. But as for these 2 sections up here, left to right, we're going to need to spend more points here. We're going to go into health and death care, and we're going to spend 2 points on the hospital. Now, I want this one on the left side, and actually, I don't even... Is there a reason why we want this? Looks at healthcare availability, average health 62%. Yeah, I think I want to improve the average health from 62%. That doesn't sound very good. And so I kind of want to put this over here, and I want it to be facing this particular collector to the right. Now, the reasoning for that is because I feel like this collector on the left is already being heavily used by all these people. And with this one over here, we can create a road system that allows them to have immediate access to the highway in that direction, as well as immediate access to this arterial that could take them all throughout the island over here, and then potentially even give them quicker access to this that will give them access out to that island. Although on that island, I'm going to be adding their own healthcare thing anyways. So really, it's just the arterial right here that I care about. And I feel like this particular collector isn't going to be as used as maybe this one over here. Yet again, helipad upgrade. Now for this block right here on the right, this one is mostly going to be a kind of like a flavor thing, an aesthetic kind of thing. And this is where we want to go to police and administration and spend 4 points on city hall. Now, I don't think we actually need this just yet, at least. Maybe this is something for a way later date. But the reason why I want this is because it's kind of like right in the downtown, where if you've ever been to, I don't know how it is in your city, but in LA, our city hall is like right next to downtown. And I kind of like that. I think it looks really cool. It looks really neat. I actually think it's right next to Skid Row, and it's actually kind of, I can't remember it off the top of my head. I hardly ever go there. I think I've only been to City Hall once. But either way, we've got a tram stop right in front of this place. And I think that would be really cool for them to be able to get off their stop. And one of the first things they see is City Hall right across from their stop here. So I want to add this maybe, I don't know, right about there. I think that also just makes it really convenient, where maybe you need to apply for some sort of a permit. Maybe you're trying to upgrade your building or your business or something, or you're trying to start a business or whatever. And it's just right here, right next to a tram stop. So it's really quick, easy, and convenient. So for the city hall, the only upgrade I want to give it for now is the city planning offices. What this one does is it reduces the building level cost by 5% citywide. Now this is both positive and negative. So the positive for this is it affects industry buildings, offices, and commercial. So that way they can reach their higher levels, become more profitable, and be able to sell their product for more, which in turn makes us more money. The negative though, is you can see all these high rent signs. So from what I understand so far about the game is individual sims have a set budget, or households have a set budget depending on the sims budgets within them. And then the homes that they live in detract from that budget based upon building level and land value. Building level affects upkeep, and I believe land value affects rent prices. And the combination of the two create this issue of high rent, at least from how I understand it. And so them being able to upgrade their buildings sooner will, I think, will actually push the high rent issue faster. And so I think it's actually going to be a big negative for our residential, but I think for everything else, it's going to be an overall net positive. Now, the last city service, we're actually going to need to look at our telecommunications here, where we can see that we hardly have any, and we actually don't even have any out on the other island there. And so what I was thinking is coming into here and then buying both the server farm for 4 points and the telecom tower for 4 points. Now I am going to have to yet again eat my words again saying I'm done over here, but I want to add in the telecom tower over here. Things have been going pretty well over here so far. I want to kind of slowly add in a little bit more city services where we have far fewer people complaining about high rent on this island. So I'm thinking that adding in the telecom tower, I want to see if that's going to make even more people complain. But as for the area that we're actually focused on, I want to add in the server farm. And where I want to add this in is going to be right over here on the right hand side. Now, I want to add this one on the right hand side because I kind of want to start scaling down the height from all the high density buildings as we move out into this direction towards that other island. And as you can see, this building is pretty medium density, I would say. It's not low, it's not high, kind of somewhere in the middle. Now, we do have to keep a couple things in mind with its location here. Is if you look up underneath the highway there on the right, you can see there's room for roads to go underneath. And so we need to be mindful of those when we're placing this down, while also still maintaining room in front of this in order to sneak its access in. So I'm thinking maybe somewhere just like that. I'm hoping that's going to be enough room. I think it is. It looks like it, but we will eventually find out. And I think that's it for city services. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill this area in with roads. I'll time lapse it real quick. And then before we watch everything grow in, I do want to kind of explain my thought process with zoning just briefly. So I will be right back. So as far as zoning goes, you could see that I've already got it all zoned in. And really my goal with this, if you look at this, was to not have skyscraper next to skyscraper. We have high density office, with high density commercial right next to it, which if you didn't know, high density commercial does not grow as tall as the other two. And then high density residential, and then low income high density, which does not also grow as tall as regular high density, to then go with high density offices over here. Now I wanted to make sure I try and staggered that, just so that way we didn't have these really tall buildings that are like right next to each other and really awkward looking. And I wanted to make sure that around the interchange was just lined with all high density everything. And anywhere where you could possibly see through two high density buildings. Oh, well, I kind of failed right there, but I guess right over here would be a better example where you have a space in between these two high density and it's filled in the background with a high density residential, which now that I look at it, I kind of want to clean that up a little bit. I'm really liking the way the zoning's done. And I kind of wanted to comment on the zoning over here with the hospital. I wanted it all offices around, but you can see I have two residential buildings in there. Now, my thought process is that we have one high density residential in order to act as kind of like a housing for the staff, where maybe you're in your residency or something like that, and you just want to live very close, quick and easy to the hospital you work at. Boom, there's one right there. Now the low income one is actually, so I happen to know that when you go through like a major surgery of some sort, you have to live near the hospital. And if you live a certain distance away, your insurance will then pay for housing within walking, I don't know about if it's walking distance, but it's within a very close distance to the main hospital you had your surgery at. Just so that way, either you or your doctors have a very easy time to get to you. And so that's why I want this low income one right here, just so that way there's that place for maybe transplants or other types of major intensive surgeries, have some sort of a long-term stay. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And yeah, I mean, I could talk a whole bunch about a whole bunch of other stuff, but I think I'd rather watch this grow, so I will be right back. So here we are, and it's almost all completely zoned in, and I'm kind of liking it. I think as soon as we fill out the outside edges around here with a bunch of medium density, I think this will start to really blend in and look kind of nice. And I think it really kind of makes a city skyline, like for the namesake. I mean, granted, when we look at all the high density residential on the right, it's kind of annoying that they all look exactly the same. But I mean, what are you going to do? It's still early on in the game's, well, I guess it's technically not development, but it's still early on in its life cycle. So we'll probably be seeing some updates that come out with different varying architectures in the future. But for now, we can at least learn the basics of the mechanics. Now, something I want to point out is that this area here is experiencing little to no traffic, and which is really funny because over here, we still experience a ton of traffic trying to use this roundabout over here. And I've even upgraded this to the large roundabout, which it looks like I forgot the pathway over here. There we go, got that in place. And actually one of the things that is causing traffic over here is actually just the sheer amount of pedestrian activity. All these people just crossing this roundabout here. And I was thinking of possibly when I go through, I was going to say we, as if you're in here with me, but maybe you're following along. So yeah, you know what, maybe as we come through here and update the entire public transit system, maybe we can create some like pedestrian overpasses for these main roundabouts that are like right next to major intersections and things like that. Just that way we can help traffic flow a little bit smoother during those rush hours. But over here, so far I haven't seen a single traffic wave besides the initial move-in. Now, I do want to go back on something and correct myself. I said that high density commercial didn't have any skyscrapers. And as you can see right in front of us, this here, high density commercial, and it is in fact a skyscraper. I didn't know that because out of all the high density commercial I put down, I just haven't had any. So I had no idea that they even existed. Like if we just click through here, all the ones that are really tall, they're all residential. Not a single one is in offices. So I didn't know that they could actually grow up that tall. But lesson learned for the future. Now I know. And I'm really liking it. So anyways, that's enough reflection, I think, I believe, I hope, maybe not. Well, actually, it looks like over here, I'm going to need to go back through here and fix some of the directionalities on a lot of these homes, but I think the next thing to do is to fix public transit. Now, I am actually going to I have a note here. Well, actually, I don't have any notes, but I do have some thoughts here. And I know that originally I wanted to turn this into a three tram lines. One that goes from about this roundabout all the way down over into this industry area and stops maybe somewhere in the center, or maybe we can have, yeah, we'll just have one stop somewhere near the center and they could walk to their other jobs if they need to. And then I wanted one along this road over here that goes from the intercity bus station all the way down and then just past this high density area. Maybe we can have it continue all the way down to the end over here. But I do want to provide a little bit of tram access to these people here. And I do know that I want another stop closer to this parking structure to maybe give them a little bit more walking access to the other tram line that in the future I would like to go from this roundabout all the way down and around and then out to that island out there. We're not going to be able to do that tram line, and if we did, it would just be... In fact, actually, I don't think we're going to be able to do that tram line at all. So I think for now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend the one that goes to the harbor just down and over here to this Garland Street right here, right in front of the highway entrance. And then for bus lines, I think I'd just do like a loop bus line that like goes to the tram stop and then out away from it. Maybe we'll have to double up on the loops, but I think that should be good. And if I need to put down any more bus depots, I'm thinking I'll just place it over here, maybe across the street from the server farm or something like that. I think that'd be okay. But anyways, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the public transit now. And I think I'm just going to kind of snap to the end of it. Or if I do, I might showcase... I know it's like 3 time lapses right in a row, but I'd like to just get this out of the way and then show off the city statistics. So I will be right back. So here we are, and I've got all of our public transit lines redone, as well as adding in a whole bunch of pedestrian paths and trees and bushes and all those sorts of things like that, just to add a little bit of personal touch to the city. And I guess I'll kind of show you what I did with the public transportation lines here. I did exactly what I said I would do. And I brought this line here from the ferry up to right about here where it can hook up with this other line. And I ran it all the way down and over into this particular industry area here, just as a way for people to have a high-speed access to work if they happen to work over here. And then for this other one, I have it from this intercity bus station all the way over to just on the other side of this kind of like metropolis downtown area. And this one's kind of a debate to me. I think this is going to change in the future, but I think for now, having its ending stop right here is going to be decent enough. Now, the reason why I did pedestrian paths, or on top of the pedestrian paths, I did like these pedestrian bridges, is because found over in at least the starting area over here at this particular roundabout, that pedestrian traffic was actually one of the biggest reasons for traffic jams. Well, not one of the biggest reasons, but one of the contributing factors to traffic jams. Besides people like that guy in the red car who decided to change, and the blue car there, that how they're trying to change lanes at the last second, which is kind of annoying. But pedestrians crossing the street slowed down traffic very heavily. And so I did this at a couple of the junctions where traffic would back up at. And I also did it preemptively over here at this particular junction with the access to the highway here. But I kind of like it. I think it'll really help out. I think it kind of adds to the flavor of the city a little bit. But now is when I want to kind of show off the city statistics and show off where we are now in comparison to where we were. So as for our income, holy cow, 170 something an hour. So I remember at the start we were at about 30,000, 20 to 30,000 an hour. And now we're at 160 something an hour. I don't even know what to say that we just multiplied our income by like over 5. And that's just insane to me. Wow. And our population was about 17,000 or so. And now we're at 37,500. So we've well over doubled our population. We've increased it by 20,000. And that's just crazy to me. That's pretty cool. All in one episode, we did both of those things. But let's go ahead and take a look at everything else. Whoa, we have a lot of traffic going on right now. I guess it's rush hour at the moment. A lot of people trying to get home and things like that from work, but it clears up all on its own. We don't have to worry about it. Or are they trying to get to work? What are these people doing anyways? See all the people trying to get on and then get off. Anyways, so we do have traffic. It comes in waves, but it is what it is. It just tells me that I gotta get better with figuring out this particular game's traffic AI and how to resolve like infrastructure and public transit. I do think ferries was the bad choice for arterials. I should have gone with a metro, and I think that would have taken care of a lot of this. And in fact, I'll actually kind of give you a little bit of a hint on one of the things I wish I did differently. Is with this particular interchange here, I wish I took this bottom on-ramp that's on ground level and raised it up to be a third level. And then that way here on the ground, we would be able to have a transit hub for all of the trams, and then possibly even putting in a metro line here if I had chosen that as our arterial public transit instead of the ferries. And I think it would have worked out a lot better. I don't think we would be seeing nearly as much traffic as we are now. But yeah, what's done is done. We've made our choices. We make the bed we sleep in, and that is just what's happened. But anyways, tangent out of the way, let's get back to comparing city statistics. One of the first ones I want to look at is going to be, I have them written up over here, is public transit. How many people are using public transit? Now, I believe future me will put up an image that past me took to compare, but I believe, I could be wrong, but just use the numbers on screen. I believe buses, we were at about 6,000 a month of people using, and now we're at 18,000 a month of people using. For taxis, I think we were like 600, so to go to 800 really isn't that big of an increase. Trams went from 11,000 to 17,000. Wait, did I say buses 1,800? I meant 18,000 from 6,000, whatever. Trams from 11,000 to 17,000, so that's not nearly as big of an increase as we're seeing from buses. And then boats, I believe it was only like 4,000 to 5,000. So that's actually kind of very lackluster. I was hoping we'd see more people trying to travel from island to island, but whatever. It is what it is. And then for the next one, is going to be fire. I believe we were in the 30% for average fire hazard, and now we are in the 14% for fire hazard, so I'm actually very happy with that. I think if you remember from the introduction, a bunch of buildings burned down, and that's actually, I remember seeing that, and I kind of like did like a little bit of like a face palm there, where I was like, I think I was just saying something in the last video about, you know, I haven't seen anything burn down yet, so I don't think we need to worry about fire. And then boom, there we go, a bunch of buildings burned down, and I'm like, all right, we'll add a fire station. Now the next one here is average health. Now I believe we were at 60%, and now we're only at 72%. So adding in one hospital didn't have as dramatic of an effect as the fire station, but you know, that's okay. At least we improved a little bit. Maybe I'll have to spend some time and read some of the other public service buildings and their upgrades and kind of figure out how we can better improve public health from here. Maybe it is just as simple as adding in more hospitals or something like that. And so for this last one here, this one's for crime. And if you remember, we were, I think, like at 80-something%. Same thing, feature me, I'll put up an image up on screen so you can compare. And now we're at 1% with a crime success rate of 45%. I mean, the crime success rate, I'll have to figure out why that one didn't change as much. But holy cow, we just minused our crime probability by 80%. That to me says something's broken about the police headquarters, because there's no way that it should have lowered it by that much. We just went from being something like a Gotham to being some sort of utopia. But holy cow, that is probably the biggest change in statistics there. I think I've said something about wanting to include these, but I keep forgetting. So I actually did it this time to showcase what we've changed. And so yeah, thank you for watching. I think I'm going to just play some sort of little outro here where maybe you can see things like some of the work that I put in, like lined trees or whatever. Anyways, I'm just going to do a little bit of time lapse here at the end, and I hope you enjoy, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.